Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
Investors, as we all know, financing deals can be very challenging. If you are looking for funding for your next real estate transaction, we want to introduce you to Fund That Flip.
Fund That Flip is a lender that gets you fast and affordable capital on your 1 to 4 unit projects, including single family rental and new construction.
Ladies, we have known the founder, Matt, and his company for many years, and they are the real deal. So, Andressa, where can they learn more?
Ladies, if you're looking for great terms and reliable service, check out fundthatflip.com/investor.
Native Texan Melissa Johnson and her husband Danny began flipping houses in 2003 and have continued to grow and expand into a thriving real estate investment operation. They've flipped close to 1,000 houses and built a portfolio of rental properties and real estate notes. As CEO of Danny Buys Houses, Melissa balances her creative design side with the practicalities of running a real estate business. On today's jam-packed episode, we cover a ton with Melissa, including how to choose the right mentor, her top marketing strategies for finding deals, and the most important thing you need to do in order to hire your first team member. Welcome back, ladies. This is Liz.
And this is Andressa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Investor Show, where we are super committed to you living a financially free and balanced life. And we're very excited to have you back on our show here this week. And welcome Melissa Johnson to our show. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, thank you.
We're going to jump into her story in a moment. But as we always do on Andressa, we try to kind of talk a little bit about what's up in our world and our life.
What's
and
going on with you?
Not get into too much nitty gritty because that would be boring. And we want to get to the meat of the situation here. Women don't have a lot of time, which we know.
Yes.
So we want to be respectful of your time, but we do want to get connected with you. So what's coming up for me is I'm moving tomorrow.
There you go.
So yeah, what's interesting about this experience, every experience teaches you something, right? If you allow it to.
Yes. It sucks when it's happening, but later on we look at it as a lesson. Yeah.
And I'm very clear, Andressa, and I'm sure I've talked to you about this because, our multiple, long conversations and counseling sessions. But two things that I really need to continually work on is the feeling of being overwhelmed and the feeling of worry. I'm in those two places, and I've been really working on being in less of those two places. But, moving after living somewhere for 13 years,
wow,
those two feelings are really coming up for me, obviously, because, you're moving into one. We've been renovating our new home. So I've been literally the construction manager there, making sure that's
proud of you.
Running along. Thank you. You'd be proud of me. A couple things you wouldn't be, but we'll regroup on that. and then the other thing is just like this constant worry. And I'm like, the movers are coming tomorrow and it's all going to work. Like this morning, I was starting to blood boil. And then I'm like, it's all going to be okay. They're going to come. And if there's some things left over, I'm coming back because we're not closing on this house till the end of the month. So what are we really worrying about? Do I have toilet paper? Do I have my contacts? So I'm allowing this opportunity, not in every moment, please. I'm having multiple breakdowns at times, but overall, I'm really trying to hold. It's all going to work out, So whatever is coming up for you, it may not be overwhelm or worry because those are just two things for me that come up. Just, know that it's going to work out. And what's a different way of looking at it? A different intention you can say, a different mantra you can say. And for me, in this situation, I'm like, it's all going to be fine. It's all going to work out. Don't get crazy. I have 19 lists, I'm a list person, but this is like multiple lists. This is But anyway, so that's just coming up for me, and I wanted to share that.
Well, it shall pass, and we shall celebrate.
That's right. So without further ado, I'll, because I could probably talk about this for an hour. Without further ado, I want to introduce Melissa and her fantastic story. Melissa, thanks again for being on our show. You and your husband have a really phenomenal story, and you've grown multiple businesses over the years. And I want to just start at not the beginning of your life's journey, but start a little bit because I'm sure that'll be very interesting. Start wherever you want to start, but really most importantly, what pulled you into this real estate business? What pulled you in to getting going with real estate? I know you guys have a ton of experience in a lot of areas, especially flipping, which we'll get into. But for you, what compelled you to start investing in real estate?
My husband. He dragged me into it. No, I didn't know anything about real estate investing. It just wasn't, it wasn't on my radar. It wasn't anything that I had ever done before or really thought about. And we were working, for a defense contractor, working a job, and, it was fine, but it was, it was really boring. It was cubicle life, right? You just, every day is the same thing, day in, day out. And, we weren't married at the time. We were just dating, but, which is probably like totally backwards, right? Starting a business with somebody before you're actually even married, but it worked out for us. We worked really well together, and his dad had been doing real estate investing, and he was just such an inspiration to us, like his lifestyle. It was just like, oh my God, every weekend he was like in his RV and he's going places, and, he was doing all these deals and had all these rental properties, like this massive portfolio of rental properties and stuff. And we were just like, man, I want that life. How do you get that life? And so that's kind of where we started. We got a mentor, which I always advocate for that. I think people should have a mentor in this business. I think it's super helpful. And so, we did a lot of self-educating in the beginning too. We didn't rely on our mentor, and that's a big thing. Just like quick tip. If you're seeking out a mentor, be ready to do a lot of the work on your own. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to mentor somebody that's not motivated to self-educate. And so we did a lot of self-educating in the beginning. And then when things would come up, then we would bring them to the mentor and talk through them and use his experience that we did not have. And so that was a really helpful way of like really getting into the business and learning it.
Mentorship, I feel like, is such a big, I don't know if it's a topic or strategy. I don't know what it is, but it's such a
thing.
It's a thing that gets talked a lot about, and recommended. And I completely agree with you. I think what's interesting, though, especially for newbies or even people pivoting in their company, they've been flipping, but now they want to buy rental properties, or they've been buying small multis and now they want to get into apartments. We're all kind of always looking, we're here and then we're looking there. That's a very common thing in this business, I find. I don't think it's like someone just flips properties with their heads down for like 19 million years. I don't think that happens in this business. It can't happen. Market changes, things shift. So mentorship's an interesting thing, Melissa, you just said, and it's a big topic. It's a big kind of conversation, if you will, especially on like blog posts and meetings. And, people wouldn't ever say, don't ever get a mentor. Mentors are horrible. Like they're helpful. They're super helpful. So for you though, as you got into this business and you saw the life you wanted, the life that you had, and, that was a really neat visual for people. Like, what do you want? What do you have? And how do you get there? And mentors can really help reduce the time, right? And the money to sometimes get there. So, but I also think there's a conversation to be had about, like you just said, what do you need to bring to the table in order to have a successful mentor? So my question to you, when you and your husband sought out a mentor, was, how much goal setting did you do? How much clarity did you have? Because you and I know when you start out, clarity, yeah, you can have goals, but, clarity sometimes also gets created and unfolded as you go. But I'm curious for you and your husband, how much of that did you have kind of written out or clear so you can make sure you do get the right mentor to lead you where you want to go? Because, you could have great mentors, but you want to do rental properties and they've flipped property. Well, they may not be the right mentor for you. So what did you and your husband do to make sure you were setting yourself up for, success?
Yeah. In choosing a mentor, we tried to find somebody we did find somebody that somebody that's doing the things that you want to do and having the life also that we wanted to have. We didn't use my father-in-law. I mean, we did use him sort of as a mentor, but we had like an official, mentor that we were using. And, he was just really inspiring, I think, for us, like for the lifestyle that we wanted. And he was doing all the things that that we wanted to do. We didn't really, wholesaling wasn't a thing back then. We just knew, we're going to flip houses. We're going to flip houses. That's all we, that's how everybody gets started. I think everyone wants to rehab, right? Mm-hmm. Especially back then, because that was like when the dinosaurs were walking. And so, it was kind of like in our minds, it's like, why reinvent the wheel? I mean, here's this guy, he's super smart. He's been doing this for a long time. He has a lot of experience, and he was willing to work with us and even be a private money lender for us, which was kind of like a 2-in-1 sort of deal. So it was really nice having somebody like him to work with. And I think just like somebody with the benefit of all that experience in something that we were really wanting to do. Like we knew we wanted to flip, and, he had flipped for a long time, and he did have a rental portfolio, and we knew going into it, we had a goal of, we knew that we wanted to flip, but we also were looking further ahead, and we were looking for long-term passive income. And so, one of the ways to do that was, for us to pick up owner finance properties and carry notes, and then, pick up rentals here and there in addition to the flipping, flipping for just normal income. But then also that look to the future, because we knew at some point we wanted to quit our jobs. So there goes, the 401k and all that stuff. And so we needed to have a plan, especially with, 5 kids, we needed to have kind of a retirement plan. So we looked at those long-term things as our retirement plan for ourselves, and then flipping as a way to just, survive day to day.
Got it. Reading your bio, I saw that you guys came from the oil industry. What trades, what skills were you guys using at that industry that kind of like were very useful for the real estate industry as well, and you brought this to this new industry?
Well, that was actually just me. I was in that industry. But, I think for me personally, just coming from that sort of a background, like an industrial gas, and there was a couple of things, right? So working with men, because
right,
that is all you work with in that sort of business. So that taught me a lot about, working with men. And also, I really found that I was pretty good at creating systems and processes for things. And I really like to be organized. And I was in some positions where I was able to, I worked in that industry, but I worked for several different companies throughout that time. And one of them was a guy, he had gone off on his own and started, an industrial gas company. And I helped him start the company. And so it was really cool. And I don't know why I totally forgot about that, until we did the bio. And he started questioning me about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have helped start a business before, like way back then, before I even knew really what that was. I thought I was just being like an office manager, but I really created the whole, the backbone of that company for him. So that was, I think doing all that and working in that industry was super helpful. And I have carried that into real estate. Everything that we do has a system, it has a process, everything is organized, there's checklists, there's forms, I like things to be done very systematically. So from beginning to end, everything is in a system for me.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
I know, it's like music to your ears, Anjessa. Are you like the angels?
I was like, oh my gosh,
flying ahead of you? Like
it is. I was like, yes.
She's always asking everyone, so what system specifically are you? No, it's great.
I love that.
So Melissa, let's break that down, because I would also agree. I'm not as much of a systems person, but I really appreciate them, I would say. And I see the importance of them. And I think most people do. So if you are someone like myself who doesn't necessarily wake up knowing how to build a system, and we know the importance of it, right? Because, this business is sort of boring, especially if you start, you guys have 1,000 flips you've done. So
Probably.
you got to have process. I mean, I don't, you have had to have super successful, tight processes to pull that off, right? Unless you're like 200 years old, which obviously you're not. So
I don't think, I feel like it some days.
you did talk about the dinosaurs. So no, but I think that's really important. So, but I think it's important to break it down because not everyone knows how to build a system. Not everyone knows naturally how to create the process. And I think it's sometimes really overwhelming to people, especially if you're not a natural, it's not in your natural personality. So what would you say to those people listening? They've done some flips, they have some rental properties, and they know the importance of creating these systems for their business, but somehow they just don't get around to doing it. And maybe they don't have the time, but they don't make the time, or just quite honestly, it just sucks sometimes to do some of that stuff, to be perfectly frank to me. And I'm sure some people listening to this. So for you though, what would you say to those people? Like, what can they do now in their business when they have 30 rentals or 15 rentals or 50 rentals or 5 rentals and they just don't have it down yet in terms of documentation, but they want to get to the larger stuff. So what can they do if it's just not their natural thing?
I have the secret.
Oh, please.
There we go.
I'm going to share. Find somebody that can do it for you.
Yeah.
I am a huge believer in, and that I don't know if that's not the answer you're looking for.
I love any answer. That's a great one. It's a good reminder to build a good team, right?
Yeah, right. And it doesn't even have to be like, I'm a huge believer in know what you're good at, know what your strengths are, like know yourself well enough to know what you can totally like, what is your jam? Like I know what my jams are, systems, processes, those things. Like I totally get down with that. But then there are other things that I'm not good at. And, and you want to be good at everything because, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, like we feel this pressure to like, we have to do it all and we have to be the best at everything. And there comes a time, especially when you've been doing this for so long, where you just got to kind of let go of the reins and just acknowledge like, hey, I'm great at this thing, but I'm not so good at this thing. And find somebody that is good at those things. And it's okay to delegate. I delegate so much stuff, because I know that I'm not good at it. And so why am I going to kill myself, trying to make myself be good at something that's not natural for me when there's plenty of other people out there, who love doing, whatever it is, that thing that you don't like to do, and so I really am a huge, believer in that. And it's really about being self-aware and just, and being okay with it. Like give yourself permission to just say, hey, I'm not good at that thing, but, so-and-so on my team is really good at that actually. Or if you don't have that person on your team, or, look within your team if you have a team, because sometimes, it's that whole thing where like you have the right person, but they're in the wrong seat. You know? So you might have a situation like that. And if you don't have a team, maybe, you can find a person, even if it's just part-time or a VA or some kind of assistant or something that can do those things for you. Then I say that's probably the best thing that you could do for yourself.
Amen. So in terms of efficiency, what are the softwares or apps that you are using right now that you really, really enjoy it?
So my favorite thing, I guess, would be I feel like I'm kind of cheating a little bit here because we have created a business management system for real estate investors, and we're actually launching that in December.
Very cool.
It is super cool. We're super excited about it. It's called Flip Pilot. And basically it's not a CRM. It's like way more than that. It manages your entire business, end to end, like from the leads coming in all the way through dispositions, through rehabbing, all of it. Your phones are in there. So like having that tool for me is like a game changer because it's everything in one place. And that's kind of a problem that we were having before, which is why we even created the software to begin with. You know, you're piecing all these things together to use.
Exactly.
And so with this, it really is like everything in one place. So that's
from like scope of work to like budget to, okay. Got
right. It. Yeah. Everything. So it has dashboards, it's team accountability, it's KPIs, it's, you know, all of your lead management. And so most of my deals come from online marketing. And so it ties in with the website, which is like another favorite tool. And so those things come in and it all comes into the system. And so it's just like not having so many things to manage, right?
Exactly.
Makes it easier.
Yeah, that's a challenge because we have different tools and apps. Sometimes they do connect, sometimes they don't. But it would be very cool to have one place where you are able to manage all those phases. And you touch base on marketing, and I want to go there a little bit. So you mentioned the majority of your leads come from your marketing, right? And we hear so much about, I don't know, there's so many social media channels out there, and different folks, they, voucher for certain specific channels, saying that this is what brings them the most return on their investment. But I want to hear from you where the majority of the leads come from, in terms of it's your website or any other type of social media.
Sure. So most of my leads are all online leads. And so my top performer is just organic online. So that's through our website. And that's just, we do SEO. And so people just, what I love about that is that they're looking for you, they're already motivated. It's a little bit less than, it's a little easier, sort of a situation than dealing with where you're just shooting out like a ton of direct mail and you're really not sure. I mean, you're just kind of like shotgunning it, right? You don't know what's going to hit.
Just to clarify, Melissa, as you share, you get lead generation for wholesales, flips, like what specific, is it specific?
For all of it.
All
yeah.
of it, okay. Rentals too?
Yeah. Because in my mind, those are just exit strategies. So anything that comes in, then I can determine, what that will be. And I've got criteria for all those things.
Okay.
But yeah, all the online leads, top one would be, just from our website, organic. And then the second one would be also online, but using AdWords, so pay-per-click. I get a lot of those leads also.
On Facebook?
I'm sorry?
A pay-per-click on Facebook?
No, just pay-per-click, like when you go on Google. Yeah. So people call it PPC, AdWords. That is a separate channel for me.
Sure.
So with my marketing, I separate everything out by channel. So I've got, the organic online, which is just people just doing a Google search and looking. And then I separate out the AdWords because I do, that's something that is paid for. So you're paying for each of those clicks to come in. And so that gets separated out. And then we do Facebook marketing also. And I do get leads from that too. And I think that's my number 4 performer right now. And we just started really digging into that a little bit more.
So your first one is your organic growth from your website.
Right. Yeah. And then the second one would be the pay-per-click, the AdWords. And then my third one, I think, is probates, just because those are so, I don't know. We just have a lot of luck with probates. It's the only mailing that I do, but it's pretty successful.
Did you have someone build your website to kind of incorporate the right words so you can get found and those sort of things? Or do you have obviously you guys have a very, very well-renowned podcast. I'm sure that helps get people to your website too. But, was there anything in particular you did so, you can ensure that, your website gets found organically, like you're saying?
Right. So that comes from having an optimized website. And actually, here again, I feel like I'm cheating because we do websites for real estate investors. So if you've heard of Lead Propeller, that's us. It's all just template websites, and they are they're customizable, within the template, and they are all optimized to perform really well, and very clean, very just nice, easy to use websites. And so that's, we know what needs to be in the websites. And so those things are already there, like the keywords and having videos and, just certain things in certain places. Mm-hmm. And that's, we have an SEO service that we do, and that helps boost, with backlinks and things like that. So
what came first? So you have these, you're flipping all the properties you're flipping, you're starting your real estate career, you're growing this thing significantly in order to do the volume you guys have done. And then all these other kind of products and things have kind of popped up. Has that been because you've used those things, I would imagine, and then you're sharing it with others, or you're just, someone comes to you with the opportunity because your brand is so well known? I'm curious to understand a little bit of how that evolution happened.
Cool. I'm so glad you asked me that question, because that's something that we've been trying to communicate to people. Cool. So thank you for the opportunity for that.
And she didn't ask me to ask that either.
I did not. No, but I think it's important for people to understand this, is everything that we've created has been based on a need that we had. And fortunately for us, my husband has a software development background.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
I struggle with it, but I have no idea how to build it.
We should get one of our websites.
There you go.
Talk to me after the show.
There you go.
But no, seriously, it really has, we created all these little products over the years, and first it was just for us to use. So we had this, some funny little tools that my husband built that would help us, scrape data and stuff like that. And then he built me like this little repair estimate calculator thing. And so all these little things were created based on a need that we had in the business. And it's like, we can't find something that'll do this for us. And we were trying to, luckily for us, we understand technology. And so, well, especially my husband, not really. I understand how it works, but I don't code or anything like that. Right. But, he saw a need for automation, and it's like, if we can automate some of this, because it was just he and I for a long time. We didn't even start building a team until a couple of years ago. Honestly, we just did it all by ourselves. And so every little thing we could do to make that easier was really helpful. And so, he was able to develop things as we needed them. And then, we created our own first website, and then we realized, how we were kind of at the beginning of people really understanding that they needed a web presence. So many people were just doing direct mail. And so we were kind of at the forefront of that. I think we had a website probably long before most people did, but it was just that forward thinking, for that. And then we thought, well, God, that would be great if we could do other people could do this too. Maybe we can sell this. People would be interested in having a template for a good website. And so we started with that, and then just kind of added things. And then we started building the system, which has taken a few years to build out, but it's all the way the system flows, and everything is based on how we run our business. And so I think there's the benefit there of 15 years of experience flipping houses built into the software already for you.
How did you, that's awesome. And I think that makes complete sense. How did you continue to run your current business and begin a new business? Because I also think that happens to a lot of people. They have something successful they're working on. They're getting great results. They start to get oh, I can also do this. But then this is something that's going to take a little more time, a little more energy, because it's new. And obviously your husband being in the business and knowing that was really helpful. But I'm sure there was some learning curve. It was a new business. It was different. So how did you guys reconcile that? Did you create okay, we're going to work X hours this week? on this new quote unquote project, call it new. And I think all of us struggle with that. Some people listening might have a full-time job and they want to flip their first property. It's just, they got to put the time in and they got to like, I got to put X hours to this or that's not going to happen. So curious, what did you guys do? Because clearly you've done it successfully. You keep running your current businesses and now have started helping people build websites. You're helping people do this one-stop shop of this, I don't even know it's the business management system, which obviously
Pilot.
which everyone needs. So how did you guys do it? How did you reconcile creating the time for the new thing while you're doing the current business you were in?
I think this is where him and I working well together actually was in our favor in a weird kind of way. We were starting the software stuff and we had these like two businesses, which are they're totally different, but they are related. So we've got the house flipping business. We got the software company going now too. And we were both so intertwined with both of them. And it was just it was kind of a hot mess, really. I mean, it was just, there's so much going on and it's like you're giving some attention here and some here. And I'm a believer in, the balance is like a weird thing because whatever you put attention to, you're taking away from something else. And so there's that constant like push and pull of these two businesses. And so we finally it came to a point and said, look, you are the software guy. Why don't you take all that and just, that'll be your piece. And I know about the house flipping stuff and I'm going to take this and do this. And so we worked together, but we separated the two and, that way he could take ownership of that and I could own this other thing. And we weren't having to split our focus, between the two of us and two businesses, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it was really good because it gave me the opportunity to like really dig into the house flipping business and, build and hire and build a team because I knew when I took that over, because like I said, it was just he and I at that point still. I think we had one person we had just hired that was doing some acquisitions, but I knew when I got into that, I can't do all this alone because it took the two of us that, for so much time to do it. So my first thought was, okay, we need a team, and I never hired a team or anything. So that was a huge learning curve with all that. But it was good, because I was able to completely focus on that and get all that, like clean that house, right? Hire people, have the systems and processes, document everything that we were doing, like get all that stuff out of our heads and put it somewhere where somebody else could do it for us. And that was a big thing. And that's kind of where that's kind of how we've decided to kind of like divide and conquer, right?
Right. I love to hear that. And Liz and I are same process. At the beginning, we were doing certain things that we were both at the same place at the same time, but you get to the point where you're growing and you want to divide and conquer. And I think that having the trust that the other person will handle and will do whatever she or he needs to do, and he or she has the trust that I will do the same, it is just a feeling of like, okay, I don't need to deal with every single thing. So it's a beautiful thing. And I think that you guys are an example of the implementation of this, and the success is very clear.
I'm sure having the five little ones that you have helped encourage you to like, I got to build a team here. And you raised such a great point. I mean, was that also part of it for you? The motivation of, family and just making sure you had people helping you. Was that part of it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, for all the other moms out there that are dragging their kids to rehabs, it's not fun for anybody. It's not fun for the kids. Wasn't fun for me. They hated it. So having people, in the office that could help out and they could take phone calls and I wasn't having to deal with all that stuff. And then I could just do the things that I enjoyed doing. That part of it. And that's really where that came into play too. It's like I mentioned before, finding what I was good at and doing those things and just hiring out the rest and doing it in a thoughtful way.
And it really is a step-by-step process for the ladies listening to this. And it's something that we're working through in our own business too. The best thing you could do right now before you get into hiring people, and because then some people say, well, how am I going to afford that person? I've never hired anyone, or I do have a small team, but it's kind of at max and I'm paying myself, whatever, X dollars. So before you even go to your, they call it the monkey mind. Cause I think a lot of people go there, especially when people start talking about building teams, they get a little like, whoa, not sure how it's all going to happen. The best use of your time is write down, like literally today, what are you spending your time doing? And if you're someone who's not even in the business yet, you're spending your time doing something. Yeah. So literally everyone has time. Everyone's spending it somehow, whether you have that portfolio and you're like, I got to grow a team now because I'm getting to capacity, or you're someone who's a little smaller that you're just trying to get, your first multi going or whatever it is for you, you're spending your time and you want to have more of it, right? And we can't create more time. It's the one limited resource. So what are you doing today? Everything you're doing. And what on that list can you let go of somehow, some way? And there's a lot of creative, low-cost ways to do that. And I'm not saying I'm a perfect billboard of this because I probably need to get better with this. However, I do know the value of it. You cannot do it alone. So it's a great point.
Definitely. And I love that you said that. And something else that could be helpful for the ladies listening, brain dump all that stuff out that you're doing. And because this is kind of how I started too. I brain dumped everything and then I grouped everything, like what things go together. And then you can see like, oh gosh, I'm doing a lot of this thing. Probably makes sense to hire somebody to do that because here I've already got all the tasks that need to be done. Yep. And one other thing you can do is, I can't remember the name of it now. There's a time tracking software thing that you can put on your computer. And I'll have to look it up and I'll let you know what it is. But
great idea.
I did that. I tracked my time when I was working with my business coach. I tracked my time for like a month. And you would be amazed at what you spend your time on. And it really makes you hone in too on how you're spending your time because you're documenting it. And so maybe that like 30 minutes on Facebook wasn't, no. It helps you avoid doing that kind of stuff, right? Because you don't want to see that on your timesheet thing later.
You're like, oh shit, I wasted all that time today. I don't want to put that on I've done that kind of stuff. And then when I'm writing, I'm like, oh man, I got to write that down. No, that's a great suggestion. We gotta have you back almost to dive into this, more into the processes and systems. I think it's a big topic for us as women, as investors, whether you're starting out, whether you're experienced, it really doesn't matter. It's always important really to grow and to create more time freedom, which is totally the reason why a lot of us do this. Right. Just love what you're saying and you're up to, and your software sound amazing too. So obviously you're up to a lot. Where can the ladies listening learn more about what you're doing and just really the great stuff you're up to?
Thanks. You can, we have flippingjunkie.com is the podcast and, website, blog site, I guess, with the podcast links and all that stuff. And we also have a Flipping Junkie Instagram if you want to see pictures.
Awesome. That's great. So all this information is going to be on our show notes. And now we're going to transition to our fabulous 3 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. The first one is, what's the most transformational book you have ever read?
That was a hard one. It's a tie between 2.
Okay.
So I would have to say The 5 Temptations of a CEO by Patrick Lencioni was huge for me. And also, what's the name of it? Napoleon Hill's Keys to Success, I thought was just fantastic.
Awesome. The second question is, what's the most powerful routine you do to create a financially free and balanced life?
Financially free and balanced life. I take time for self-care, and that helps get my mind right. And with my mind right, then I can do all those other things.
So important.
It is.
So difficult.
Yes, but it must be done.
Yes, yes. The last one is, which women, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
I love Jen Hatmaker, Rachel Hollis, Sheryl Sandberg,
Yeah.
Liz Gilbert. I love women that are just really real and vulnerable, and they're funny and they're smart. And I love that. Jen Sincero. I love all those like fun, like witty, sharp women.
Yeah.
I'm inspired by them.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm reading Rachel Hollis's Girl Wash Your Face. I'm not reading it, I'm sorry. I'm listening to it, and she's so funny. Just
so good.
entertaining. I'm like, I just can listen to her and not learn anything, and she's just funny, you know? So yeah, you're absolutely right. But thank you so much, Melissa, for being on our show and being a, great stand for women out there and taking on a lot of different things, but also doing it in a way that, creates balance in their life. So thank you for that. And thanks for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun. I'd been looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, and keep us posted about what's coming up on our Facebook investor community. We'll love to hear more about all your projects.
Yeah, especially these softwares and things. Sounds like they're going to be really helpful for investors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so
care.
much. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.